Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And hour two of Talkin Ball is underway on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. It is still foggy throughout the Tennessee Valley. So if you're making your way into work or wherever you may be headed on this Friday morning, please be patient. There is plenty of fog still in the area. Once that lifts, it'll be a great night for high school football. That'll lead into another great weekend of Saturday football. And the Georgia Bulldogs come in a 14.5-point favorite over the Auburn Tigers on Saturday. But as we've discussed in the first hour, without quarterback JT Daniels on Saturday, we believe.
Yeah, it looks like, as Chris Lowe reported from ESPN.com going forward, Stetson Bennett will be the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. Played very efficiently last week in that dismantling of Arkansas, 37-0 inside Sanford Stadium, and now they will take it on the road to Jordan-Hare Stadium. They soundly whipped Auburn last year 27-6. I see a similar mismatch coming up because I just think Georgia is superior on both lines of scrimmage, and so that's where I think you still win football games. But we're going to talk to our next guest, who, of course, is the editor of Dogs Daily. He's also a recruiting analyst for Sports Illustrated, but he's the film guy, as we like to say. He does a great job covering the Georgia Bulldogs, and that's Brooks Austin, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brooks, welcome back to Huntsville with Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Good to be with you guys. How are you guys doing this morning?
We are good, brother. And I know you felt like that Georgia had a big time advantage on Arkansas. They certainly took care of business, dismantled the Hogs, and played a complete football game with complementary football, offensively and defensively. Ran the football very well. Now they go on the road to Auburn. This is a matchup they dominated last year. I know Auburn's coming off of a win in Red Stick for the first time in 22 years, but I'm 34-10 Georgia right now. I really like their chances to win impressively on the road. What say you?
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I mean, I did a good bit of film study last night on both sides of the football from Auburn. I respect highly what Mike Bobo does as an offensive coordinator. I think there's always a 12 to 14 play span as an offensive coordinator in every single football game where you look up and you're like, wow. I mean, Mike Bobo's excellent at what he does. And then you got to survive a couple of things that, Bo Nix is going to do. He's going to put the ball in harm's way at one point on Saturday. It's just a matter of whether or not that ball ends up being a turnover and when it comes and how crucial it actually is. So, offensively, I think they do some great stuff with pre-snap motion. But tricks and all that good stuff only work so much against a defense like Georgia. They're going to have to hide that offensive line for 4 quarters, and I don't know if they can do that at all. I don't think they can hide it for, longer than maybe a couple of series with pre-snap motion and tricks that they have up their sleeve. And defensively, they got a pretty good front four, but they're so basic in coverage scheme that they line up, they pretty much play man coverage or what looks to be man coverage because they zone match a lot. And when you're that basic and when you run, kind of one or two different things, well, when you got a good offensive coordinator like Todd Monken, eventually he's going to dice you up, and there's going to be some explosive plays in the passing game. So I really like the matchup, in totality for Georgia.
Yeah, especially on the defensive side for Georgia. Auburn doesn't have that receiver that's going to wow you, and that's going to allow the Georgia defenders to play a little bit more carefree a little bit, because I'm telling you what, I'm not scared of the Auburn wide receivers going into this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, last year their offense, it struggled a good bit in Athens, but the limited, success that they had was pretty much just 50-50 balls to Seth Williams. He either caught him or drew a PI against Tyson Campbell. That was their biggest plays offensively last year. And then, of course, just getting the ball to Tank Bigsby as much as they could. But this year, their primary receiver, the guy that they use the most, the one that they run their offense through out on the edge, is a guy, Demetrius Robertson, who left Georgia because he was about 6th or 7th on the depth chart. So, it is pretty barren out there in terms of the amount of weapons that they have on the outside. So, yeah, that pretty much puts all the emphasis and all the pressure on their weakest unit, which is that offensive line. And, guys, I'm here to tell you, that offensive line is absolutely porous. I mean, outside of Vanderbilt, it's about as bad as I've seen on tape this year for an SEC football team.
That's damning right there when you're going up against the Georgia defensive line, which may be the most talented in all of college football. We saw what they did to Arkansas and dominating them up front. Brooks, what is the main issues you've seen with Auburn offensively? I know the tackle spots were a big question mark, especially left tackle going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, they're big. They're as big as any SEC offensive line. It's just not very athletic, man. I see a lot of dead feet and just leaning on folks, particularly the left tackle and the two guards. I just see big guys that can't quite get the job done in terms of athleticism. And that's what makes offensive lines like Alabama's over the years so daggum great. Yeah, Evan Neal is 6'7", 350 pounds, but he's got like a 37-inch vertical leap, and he does all kinds of crazy stuff, in terms of his athleticism. That's why he's going to be a first-round draft pick, not because he's 6'7", 350 pounds. I mean, they're massive up front from Auburn. They're just not athletic enough, and that's a problem when you're facing a team like Georgia, who has a nose tackle that's 6'6". He's listed at 340 pounds, but he looks to me like he's 360, and he can flat out roll. So when you got guys like that up front, Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith, Devontae Wyatt, Jalen Carter, the list goes on. It's going to be a long day.
We know Georgia wants to run the ball. They want to just beat you down. How much different is this offense then with Stetson Bennett at quarterback versus JT Daniels?
I think that's a little bit overblown, to be honest with you. If you look at Todd Monken's history as an offensive coordinator, if you track what he does, he's not one of these offensive coordinators like, say, a Lincoln Riley that just lines up and they do what they do, right? They force the defense to respond to what it is that they do offensively, and they pretty much run their game. Well, Todd Monken, on the other hand, sees what you do as an offensive or a defensive coordinator and as the defense as a whole, studies you all week long, develops the game plan to attack you. So if you're Mississippi State and you want to put 9 in the box and you want to play cover 0, well, he's going to design a bunch of quick, deep shots downfield, and they're going to drive the ball down the field and throw for 400 yards. Same thing against a team like Cincinnati. They want to load the box. He threw it for 400 yards. Well, same. I think Stetson has the